guys? Welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. So before I get right into this video, which is going to be my task 3, which is the assessment commentary for the Edtpa, I just want to give a shout out. One of my followers, one of my subscribers, her name was Joanne. She actually reached out to me and she had a lot of questions concerning the Edtpa. She informed me that, of course, my video was very beneficial for her and it helped her a lot because she's coming from a school that closed down and she didn't have a lot of resources. So I hope that the resources that I sent you, Joanne, that you find them very helpful. She was doing writing. So I have, if anybody is doing writing, I do have a couple of books that I would like to share with you guys on writing. So this one is a reading strategies, Jennifer Silvero. She has a writing strategies one also as well. So if you guys have seen this book, I've asked teachers and they said this book is great. So unfortunately, I don't have the writing one right now. I'm in the process of going to get it. But if you guys seen this book, there is a writing one to it. Use the writing one. Also, this is another book called Writing Workshop, The Survival Kit, and it's for kids grades 5 to 12. This is another reference that you can use if you're doing writing for your Edtpa. They have mini lessons. I'm just going to show you a few. Like mini lessons that you can do about writing plays, writing book reviews. You know, we have a lot of the younger kids. They're doing a lot of book reviews, talking about books that they like, movies that they like. It really breaks it down on like how kids should do their paragraphs, how to break down the introduction, the two bodies, and the conclusion. They have a lot of, and it also deals with like mechanics of writing, teaching grammar. I know like a lot of schools aren't teaching grammar anymore. Don't ask me why they're not. I think they should. Just like a lot of things that you can use. And I just feel like it's a great resource, how to write a letter, a business letter, analyzing a persuasive essay. So if you can, please purchase this book. This is on Amazon. And if I think it was $26. But this book you can find on Amazon, as well as the Reading Strategies book that I showed you. You can definitely find that on Amazon also as well. And here's one more book. This is another book that I did show, the Reciprocal Teaching Strategies at Work. This is a good book that you can use during your small group for those kids who are having issues with comprehension and just showing them ways that they can improve it better. So this is another resource. So I just want to say thank you to Joanne for reaching out to me because that really made my night. That made not even my night, that made my week to know that I'm able to help someone just like you and try and help you the best way that I can and give you all the materials that you can need so you can pass. I know you're going to pass this Edtpa because your ideas were amazing. So I hope that, you know, with the lesson plan that I provided for you, so it's more structured, so you can kind of see how everything is going to be laid out. So Joanne, make sure to reach back out to me. So I just want to say thank you to her because this is why I'm here. I'm here to help give as much insight because I understand that some people could have possibly been in Joanne's situation where her school shut down and she's not able to get the resources that she needs for her Edtpa in order to be successful. So if anybody is in that situation or they're just out there and have to do the Edtpa and have no clue what it entails, what you're supposed to do, I hope that with my videos that I have, I break it down so you understand all components of it, and then you'll see the whole flourish. Well, potentially the whole thing is going to flourish in one big thing, and then you'll be able to see how everything works. So let's get right into this video. Assessment commentary. So you're probably thinking, what do I need to do in the assessment commentary? So in the assessment commentary, at this point, you've done the lesson. The kid has did the assessments or thing that you did to keep track of what the student is doing. Now the hardest part to do now, guys, is to analyze it. Some people is probably like, hey, I can do that. That's easy. To each his own. For this section, it was hard for me to analyze because, once again, like I said to you before, I could not tell my student what she needed to do. And when my student had to fill out the graphic organizer, she had to make 3 predictions, questions, clarifications, and summary. My student would always get close to that goal that I had for her, and she would miss it by 1 for each lesson that we did. Let's say I wanted her to do 3, she did 2. But in the next lesson, she did the 3, all she needed was 1 more. If I wanted her to make 4, all she needed was 1 more. And it's like, she wouldn't do it that lesson, she would do it the next lesson. So I was like, huh? Like, I could not read it. And I just didn't like, I know she got it, but she just needed to make 1 more. So yes, some of you will be in that situation where your kid is not she's missing the goal by 1 in each one, but use that opportunity to reflect, because that's exactly what I did. I used that opportunity to reflect. Like, she got the lesson. It's not that she didn't get the lesson. The lesson was perfect. It was laid out just great, but I wasn't allowed to tell her the numbering. So at the end of my whole Edtpa, I actually told her, and she was cracking up. She was laughing. She was like, seriously? And I'm like, seriously? Like, I wanted to pull my hair and be like, oh my God, just one more. But I couldn't. So I'm just going to go over the task 3 commentary with you guys. So this is mine. Have it in these little packets. So analyzing the focus learner's performance. So the first one is A. Identify the lesson objectives for the learning segment measured by each daily assessment record. So of course, like for part A, you would just break down what you wrote in that part. So basically, hold on, it's better for me to show you guys a visual so you can see what you guys. So I have my Edtpa binder right here. Joanne did inform me that she liked that I have visuals and I'm able to show it to you guys. So you can see where those areas are. If not, let me see. I thought I printed out. I have like a packet where I like printed out my whole Edtpa. Let me see. I can't seem to find it right now, but when I do find it, I'm just gonna put an image here so you guys can see. So I kind of just made a chart. And I just broke down like what each lesson was, the objective, and what was the score that she had received. So with my student, I'm going to show you how I kept track. So with my student, I made a reciprocal teaching strategy rubric. This was something that I had found somewhere online and I modified it for my student. So this was it. And it was like reading comprehension. And it just like participated in the reading process. So I would, just say things that she did good. I scored her from 0 to 4. So she knows 0 was no evidence in the lesson. 4 being the highest was evidence clearly found in the lesson. And I just provided comments. Some things that she did good. What are some things she can improve on? So, for example, I said discussion of reading contained reasonable details. I gave it a 2 because that was something that she really needed to work on, was being able to provide me those details. So my comment was she needs to add more details in this area. However, the focused learner is showing some evidence in this area. So I gave her a 2. And 2 being that there was some evidence in that lesson. So if you can, just make a little rubric that you can use just to follow along, and if you have any comments, you can leave them down below. And it was like an oral presentation communication, just to see like orally what she did good. So I said like she did a good job like using the vocabulary to communicate to me. And this was the rest of the scoring sheet. So she was scored out 28 out of 32 with everything scored up in total. So like I said, that was something that I found online, and then I modified it for what I was doing with my student. On top of that, like I told you guys before, this is a grows and glows sheet. Now, this is where my student wrote her glow, what she thought she did good on, what she thought she needed to grow on, and this, of course, was my feedback. And I use this glows and grows to always start the beginning of my lesson with her. So whenever I was introducing a new lesson, we kind of reviewed and we went over what were some of the things that she did good in the last lesson and what are some things that she can improve on. So I was looking to see, okay, I gave her the feedback. I told her what areas she needs to work on. Let's see if she can improve on those areas where I told her she needs to work more on. So this is also something that you can find online. You can find online. So just type in glows and grows, and there's different charts and things of that sort that you can use with your student. So I'll give you an example. Like my student said, I think I did well at coming up with predictions for the book that we're reading, Esperanza Rising. So, and then another area of improvement is she said that I think I need to work on coming up with more questions and stopping more in the book. So I'm glad that she noticed that, and I'm not the one who said, well, you need to da-da-da. She noticed that herself. So I said, I'm so glad that you realize that you need to work more in this area. I want to see you stopping throughout the book and using the graphic organizer to write down your predictions. Clarifications, and questions. And I said, in addition, you need to work more on clarifications and say which strategy you used and how it helped you to understand the word. Because in clarifications, there's different strategies that she should be using, and I want her to vocally tell me what strategy she used, and if it didn't work, what was another strategy that she can use in order to help her to clarify. So this is definitely what the student can use to reflect on their thinking. So I think this is a great source for you guys to use. If you need to have a place where the student is kind of able to reflect on their learning, and then you're able to provide her that feedback so you guys have a good communication with each other. I'm reading off of this one. Next one is B. Describe any changes in the assessment related to work sample, daily assessment records, and or lesson objectives from what was described in the lessons, and explain why changes were made. So like I told you guys before in my last video, I ended up having to add a stop sign. Was my stop sign planned? No, it was not a planned source that I had in mind from the beginning of my lesson all the way through. I realized that I needed to add another one because she was not stopping. So what I just read, that part B, you're just writing. If there was anything that you had to go back and kind of fix or add or plan, you're just basically saying, why did you have to add it? What was the reason? Did you find it beneficial? So you're just reflecting back on that lesson. Maybe you changed something in the lesson. Maybe you did something different in the work sample, or the lesson objective had to be changed, or something of that sort. You're just going to be reflecting in that part B. That's all you're doing. If you didn't have a plan support, if you didn't add anything, of course, you leave that part blank. And A, you didn't add anything. Next, if the work sample for the learning goal is an expert from a video from instruction, task 2, provide a time. Now for D. D is basically you're summarizing the focused learner's progress toward the learning goal has reflected in the lesson objective. The summary can be represented in a table or described in several paragraphs. So for this part, I did a table, what that lesson was, what she was supposed to do, and what was her scoring for each of those lessons based on my score key for each one. So that is like copy and paste, make a chart, blah, put it right in there. That's all they want for D. And for you to just explain what just kind of reiterate again what the student was supposed to do for lesson 2, what the student was doing in that area, what was her score, whatever in that. And if I have a picture, I will be posting so you guys can get a visual of what that looks like. Part E was analyze the focused learner's performance based on the strengths, what she appears to understand or do well, and needs, and where she continues to struggle or needs greater challenge. Include any error analysis. Types or levels of planned support provided to the focused learner. So if you notice, a lot of these things, it's okay. It's going to be repetitive. It's a tedious exam. It's just the way they frame these questions, but it's the same kind of question. They're just wording it in a different way. So for the strengths and thing, so you're just gonna say what did that student understand? What did the student do well on? So basically, you're providing that student with that positive feedback. What was something that they really did really awesome in? You're writing that part, and then needs. As you were doing the lesson, what did you realize that she needed? So I realized that she needed that stop sign. So I'm gonna say, yeah, she needed that stop sign, and I'm gonna go back in and say, this is what the student needed. Then next is include what the student continues to struggle or she needs greater challenge. So if you felt like, you wanted to challenge her a little bit more, she needed this. If it was more that she needed, you're going to say, hey, she needed this. And it's okay to put that. They want to see you reflect, like really, really reflect on that part. You can say, what was the focused learner strength? What was the focused learner challenge with? So I feel like my focused learner, what was she challenged with? The focused learner for my student, she was challenged with making those in-depth use of the reciprocal teaching skill. That's how I challenged her. And where was some of the errors? I said, however, the errors occurred when my focused learner was not making enough in-depth reciprocal teaching and strategies to reach her learning goal. Because like I explained to you guys before, she had to do a certain amount for each lesson. She was not able to do that. So that's where the errors started becoming, because she would get close, but then she wouldn't reach it. But in the next lesson, she would make the 4. So I said, therefore, by going into independent work, the teacher candidate stressed to the focus learner to make as many as she can without telling the focus learner how many she actually needed in order to reach the goal for the particular lesson. So like I would tell her, make as much as you can. I can't really tell her, but if she reached my goal, then I'm like, yes, inside, like, yeah, I don't have to tell her. Then they ask about the error analysis. The error analysis is basically, you're just saying, what did she really have problems with? So with my student, the error analysis was the understanding of clarification. She really had a hard time with that because she didn't know like what to clarify. So I said so I had to explain like clarifications isn't only stopping when reading Esperanza, but it's about identifying like words that are unclear, concepts, and structure in a sentence. I said therefore, the focused learner had a hard time identifying words in the book. The teacher candidate, now I reflect back on what I need to do. I said the teacher candidate will need to work with focused learner in future lessons to build understanding of clarifications and the different ways we use it to help pick up information in a text. So once again, as teachers, we always reflect on how the lesson went, what we could have changed, what could have been added. So I'm reflecting back on something that I can do. If I was to go further into the lesson, I would have to do a lesson strictly on just clarifications and just showing her how to use clarifications or what are like words that we don't understand. What are some strategies or concepts that we can use? So the error analysis is whatever your student had a hard time with. Then you're just saying what it was, and then you're just kind of saying where was it, and you need to be very specific on what it is. Then you kind of reflect on what would you do for the future lessons if you was to go further in depth with your lesson. How would you build on it and things of that nature. Then next is, and then you're going to talk about the strengths also as well. So of course my student had a graphic organizer. That was her strength. So I'm going back again to her interests. The graphic organizer, that was her strength. She knew how to use it. The structure of the 4-column graphic organizer used in all the lessons, it helped the focus learner to develop her strength and understanding of Esperanza Rising in order to reach the learning goal. However, it is evident that the focus learner did need to build her understanding of the reciprocal teaching skill and clarification in the contribution to the learning goal worksheet. Then I put in parentheses, like, you also want to put in like see artifacts attached in bold, so they know when you're writing about that section, if you have artifacts, you're uploading the artifacts, so when they look through it, they can go right to that. So I had like work samples, so I kind of spoke about that. So I said the work sample also exhibited the focus learner was making progress throughout the learning segment with using the reciprocal teaching strategies. Lastly, it demonstrates the focus learner ability to use the reciprocal teaching skill independently. So you want to talk about it, and if you have artifacts, you want to say see artifacts attached in bold, and you want to put it in there. The next one is based on the focus learner's performance, explain how the plan supports you use did or did not impact the learning and provide access to the content. So this is where you're going to cite evidence from the baseline data, your assessment records, the work samples needed to clarify or illustrate your summary and analysis. So at this point, you're just reflecting on those plan supports. Did they work for your student? If they did not, you're just reflecting and saying why. So prime example from mine. So I said, based on the focused learner's performance, I said the gradual release of responsibility instruction had a positive impact on my student, on my focused learners during guided instruction and independent work. That worked very, very well for her. I talked about the sentence starters. It built the focused learner's understanding of the skills learned, include the reciprocal teaching strategies. And then I also spoke about the graphic organizer, which I said see artifacts attached because we use the graphic organizers for lessons 1 through 4. So I just say like the graphic organizers allow the focused learner to analyze the text using the reciprocal teaching strategies and understanding in order to positively impact learning and provide access to the content of Esperanza Rising. So things of that nature, you're just explaining how those plan supports worked in F and did it impact the students' learning. 2, feedback to guide further learning. So in this part, you also have to take a clip from your video, whatever clips that you decided to use in task 2, you need to see where did you give the student verbal feedback. So when it comes to task 2 and task 3, like I said before, if you can kind of already pre-read the question just to see what they're looking for in the video, it'll be better for you when you're videotaping because you already know what they want and what they're looking for. That's something that I did not do because it was just probably in the spirit of moment in the spirit of the moment due to timing for me. I did not do that. But if you have time, I would say read it prior so you kind of know what they're looking for in your video, so you won't have a hard time trying to figure out which videos you want to use in your task 2, because I had a hard time selecting a video and which one I wanted to do. So yeah. So for 2, A, they want a written directly on a work sample document or included in a video work sample in a video clip. Instruction task 2, they want you to provide a timestamp or in a separate video of you giving that student verbal feedback. So you need to pick one. It's either you're going to show a work sample where you provided that feedback, or you're going to show it, where you did it on the video. So like I expressed to you guys already before, every time we started a new lesson, I always provided her feedback. So automatically, I can go back to my clips. And I can give the feedback on that because I already did that. So I just said like my verbal feedback was provided to the focused learner within the clip from task 2, clip 2, lesson 3, and you need to put the time stamps. I don't know how much I can stress that, because when they go back to your video, they know exactly what you're talking about. It's just an easy bop, 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 there. And then you just say, like, if you have to really, like, write out strictly what you said in that timestamp, it's okay, do that. So I just said the feedback was provided on the Glows and Grows worksheet, and the focus learner was given feedback before starting a new lesson in the clip. I said the written feedback was provided on the Glows and Grows worksheet for lessons 1 through 4. I said the graphic organizer led the focus learner to writing the reciprocal teaching strategies. And I said complimentary feedback. Complimentary feedback is what were some things that you said good? What were the good things that you said? So you need to say clip 2, lesson 3, timestamp from this time to this time. And then you say the teacher candidate made sure to follow up with the focused learner by reviewing components. This supported the teacher candidate's explanation. The written feedback addressed the strengths and the ways the focused learner can improve in order to reach the learning goal. Done. That's all you have to say. Finish. Go on to the next one. B. Explain how the feedback, including error prevention, provided to the focused learner addressed his or her individual strengths and continuing needs relative to the learning goal. So in this question, you're just saying how the verbal feedback was how the verbal feedback was given. To the focused learner in the video from whatever clip that you have. So you're just gonna, whatever your timestamp is, you're just gonna say, giving the student an opportunity to review the Glows and Grows worksheet. It preceded this segment of the lesson, and the graphic organizer was used to show the focused learner's areas of improvement, in addition to areas the focused learner needs to grow more in. Between my timestamp, I just basically described what were the things that we did in between that time. So I just said we looked at the graphic organizer from lesson 1 and 2 together. The teacher candidate and the focused learner analyzed what she noticed between both areas and what she needs to work on from 1 and 2 on the graphic organizer. I said the focused learner responded that she needed to work on clarifying, and the teacher candidate continues to provide feedback for the learner in that area. Next, you're on C. So you're basically just saying what you're doing, how you provided that feedback. You're saying if your student was doing in that clip, and I just had her looking at the graphic organizer, and I had her looking at her Grows and Glows, and I had her analyze it herself and tell me, well, I noticed that I did this, and this is where I need to work at. And then she would read my response, and then I would basically add on to whatever it was. Next part is C. We're still on question 2, part C. How did or will you support the focus learner to understand and use the feedback on both strengths and needs related to the learning goal within the learning segment or in subsequent learning tasks? So, of course, a lot of talking, guys. So, of course, in this area, you're just going to talk about, if you use the Grows and Grows worksheet, you're going to talk about which self-identified strengths and opportunities for the focus learner to improve skills. Talk about what the Grows and Grows worksheet, if you're using one, what was it used for? Once again, you're always giving that timestamp. You want to provide an example. For example, in this timestamp, the teacher candidate did this. In this timestamp, the teacher candidate verbally tells the student to use more evidence to support her statement and why it supports her thinking of evidence. Really explicitly say, what did you do in clip 2, lesson 3? Provide me the timestamps and tell me as short as you can what you did, and get straight to the point and just tell me what you did in just those 3 to 4 sentences. And then you say in clip 2, lesson whatever, in order to move the focus learner forward, how did you move her forward in the lesson? So for me, I said, in order to move the focus learner forward, the instructor will support the focus learner to understand the feedback, in addition to using the feedback to build the desired skill necessary for the learning segments. The self-identifications were reflective of performance during learning tasks and incorporated feedback from the instructor regarding subsequent performance. Evidence of verbal support was given to the student in order to help her understand and use the feedback on both strengths and needs. So that's why I said you have to think about your communication skill. You cannot have 3 communication skills. You need to pick one. So my skill was writing. What was her communication skill? Writing. Writing where? On the graphic organizer. That was her writing skill. And then when you're doing your timestamps in the video, and depending on the question, they might say, how did you do that? You say with verbal support was given to the student in order to X, Y, and Z. Now we're on 3, and we're getting right into it now. Evidence use of the expressive, receptive communication skill. We're at this part. Evidence use of the expressive, receptive communication skill. It clearly says no more than what? 5 minutes. It is in bold. Please look at the timestamp. Please. You don't want to go over no more than 5 minutes. So for this section, I didn't use a video. What did I use? I used my artifacts because she was writing it down and they had the graphic organizers. So I just said the focus learner used her reciprocal language skill to write the reciprocal teaching strategies to demonstrate her understanding. So for this part, see artifacts attached. When you're uploading, you just put it in that section where they need it. So, of course, I put all the graphic organizers from lesson 1 through 4. Then the next one is to explain the extent to which the plan supports for the expressive receptive communication skill built on the learner's task or demonstrating learning related to the learning goal. I said the 2 plan supports for the expressive communication skill was the graphic organizer and the sentence starters. So you say what the plan support build on the student's strengths. The teacher candidate model to the focus learner the communication skill when reading aloud Esperanza Rising and demonstrating to learner how to use it in order to build her understanding. The sentence starters help the focus learner to write in complete sentences and use proper vocabulary to help with the writing for her on the graphic organizer. So just explaining how did that plan support help with the expressive and receptive communication skill. So for this one, you just talk about 2. When you get to 3B, you talk about 2. In this one, you're allowed to talk about 2 that you use. So mine was the graphic organizer and the sentence starters. Then 3C, describe the plan supports you provided to help the focus learner generalize and or maintain the communication skill. So generalize and maintain the communication skill was the graphic organizer and the sentence starters which helped the focused learner during guided instruction. Therefore, it helped the focused learner build mastery during independent work. The sentence starters help the focused learner to write in complete sentences, use the proper vocabulary to help with the writing for her on the graphic organizer. Therefore, the focused learner will be able to utilize the reciprocal teaching skill in other academic readings in and outside of the classroom. If you notice, my sentence, I'm repeating a lot of the terminology, the planned supports, they were provided, focused learner. You want to be consistent. If you're using focused learner, you need to use focused learner all the way throughout. And then we're at 4, using the assessment to inform instruction, the bottom right here. So this part, you're just going to consider what you know about the focused learner and the effectiveness of your instruction, intervention, and the learning environment. When designing next steps relating to the learning goal, consider all aspects of instruction, including planned supports as appropriate. So in this part, based on your analysis of the focused learner's performance presented in the prompts from 1D and F, describe the next steps for instruction to improve or continue learning. So in this part, you're using research and you're going to use theory to particularly explain how it relates to the evidence-based practices. So I said, based on the student's performance in this particular learning segment, I said there are a few next steps that need to be taken in order to develop the student's ability to use the reciprocal teaching strategies when reading other texts besides Esperanza Rising. So I put in, furthermore, I said continued explicit instruction. In the case of reciprocal teaching methods, I talked about the research behind it. There's another thing that I said I wanted to do, because you have reciprocal teaching strategies, and there's another comprehension strategy that you can use. It's called the CSR, which is a collaborative strategy reading. So I said, in addition to continue working on building the focus learner's comprehension skill, I said teacher candidate will then use the collaborative strategic reading, which is designed to address the 3 prevailing education issues, meeting the learning needs and learning outcomes of all students in their classroom. CSR is a research-based instructional practice in teaching reading comprehensions to students to enhance content in learning. CSR was developed to help students with LD and limited English. However, CSR has positively impacted the standardized reading comprehension test scores for average and high average achieving students. So you're just going to think of what is another theory that you can use, any research that you can find about it. Was it effective? Was it good? You're just citing and you're putting it in there. The author's name and the date, APA format. And then part B is based on what the focus learner knows and can do, and your next step describes implication for the focus learner IEP goals and or curriculum. So you said, based on what the focus learner knows and can do, and my next step for the focus learner's IEP goals would be to focus on self-awareness. I felt like at this point, you're just saying, what is something else that your focus learner needs to work on? So I felt like with my student, she needed to work more on self-awareness and self-advocacy strategies. And I think that would have been better. That's something that she can use because she can improve the skill. If she continues to use the self-awareness and the self-advocacy, she can use that to support her evidence in clarifications. I said improved self-awareness and self-advocacy strategies will allow the focus learner to reflect on skill gaps and seek proper guidance. So she would say she didn't understand, or she would, I can tell like from the assessments, like she didn't know what words to pick or to see if she understood it or not, because like I said, maybe in her mind she felt like she knew the words and she probably didn't. So just being her to use that self-awareness and self-advocacy, so she can reflect on those skill gaps, and then it will be better for me as the teacher to kind of assist and give her that proper guidance. So I said, therefore, the Glows and Grows worksheet was used to facilitate the focus learner's self-awareness, which should lead to self-advocacy Still, it is important for the focus learner to understand advocating her needs and to understand specific educational needs to develop the skill in order to advocate for herself. Supporting evidence and explaining how it does so and demonstrating understanding through critical thinking will help the learner to build those self-advocacy skills. And this page only needs to be 8 pages maximum. Don't go over 8 pages maximum, maybe 9. But 9 can be your sources. So that is what I did for my task 3 commentary. I know it's long, but you're basically just reflecting on everything that you did. If your student did not reach the goal, reflect on why you think your student did not reach the goal, or maybe it was a planned support, something that you thought that you should have changed. That's all you're basically doing in the task 3 commentary. Another thing, this is just like tips at this point. Once I wrote up everything, once I tweaked it and went back in and worked on it, I worked with a partner. If you know somebody or you know a colleague who is doing the Edtpa as well, see if you guys can work together. Now, at this point, once you've kind of halfway, or this is what you can do. You and that partner, you guys work on task 1 together. Maybe even task 2. You guys can watch each other's videos. Now, I didn't get to watch my partner's video when we was working together, but we sat in the library and I printed out my task 1 and task 2 and I gave it to him and he gave me his. We sat there and we went through the rubrics from 1 to 15. Is it 15? Whatever. We went through all the rubrics. So whatever we was being graded on from task 1 and task 2, we used those rubrics. We went through them very strategically. Now, let's say my partner got a 3 in this part. In order for it to get a 4, you might have just need one part. Your partner can just say, you got a 3 on this one, but in order to get a 4, you need this. Write down, have post-its. Have your partner write down on post-its, hey, this I will give you a 3. And like really have it where your partner, how we did it in my seminar is we went through each section. We talked about what was something good, what was something positive, whatever score we was given. We had to say like what that person did, and if they didn't have it, kind of like give them like some guided questions like, oh, you spoke about this, maybe you could go a little bit further here in this section. Break it down, and then you can use that when you're going back to the editing process and all you're doing is editing at this point. You can use that to kind of guide you through your rubrics and go back and add in those things where you don't have it, so you can get that score of a 4. So I highly suggest working with somebody who is doing it with you, that you trust, that you feel comfortable sharing your work with, that you feel comfortable having somebody go over your writing if you're not a strong writer, and just somebody that you feel really comfortable with, going to a writing center or a library, whatever is best for you. But me and my partner did stay in the library. We graded each other's. We didn't want to give each other like a high 5, but from the beginning when me and him started, we knew that we wanted to get all 3s. So before you even start, you kind of want to read what they're looking for a 3 or a 4. I'm sorry, let me get my rubric just to check. So you kind of want to just read what are they asking in all 3s? Because with my professor, we was like, nope, we want all 3s and 4s. And we just studied what they're looking for 3s and 4s for all of them. We didn't study no 2. Nope. We just looked strictly at 3s and 4s. And, you know, maybe you might have fallen at a 2. It's okay. No. Yeah, we looked at strictly 4s, 4 and 5. we looked at 3, 4, and 5, basically. But a lot of us, we focused on the 4s. We just wanted to see, hey, if we get a 4 and at least get a couple of 3s, hey, you're still going to pass. And I don't want you to think like, oh, if you get a 1.0 or you at least get 2 1.0s and you get a 2.0 here that you're going to fail the exam. No, you're not. Because I got a 1.0 in one part and I got a 2.0 in one part and I still passed with mastery. It's okay. Like, because you might have the same scoring in one section and then you might have the other scoring in another section. Hold on, I'm going to show you mine if I can find my folder. This one. Just to show you guys. Because I don't want you to think like, oh my god, I got a 1.0, I failed the exam. It's not that serious. No. Yes. So I actually got 1.0 and I got 2.0 and I still passed it. Not going to show you my name, but I'm going to show you what I was given. So you guys don't get nervous because it's okay. Put it here. Okay. Sorry. So this was mine. See? I got a 1.0 there and I got a 2.0. The rest was 3s and 4s. And I have 1.5. Like, you're good. You're still going to do an awesome job on it. They gave me a 1 in analyzing the focus learner's performance, which I kind of knew that I would, like, it depends on you. I kind of knew that, I kind of knew I was going to get low on that part because, like I said, I couldn't read, I couldn't read it because she didn't do it the first lesson, she'll make it after. So it was really hard for me to read, but that was the only one that I got. And then in that section, I got 4s, a 4, 5, and a 3. So that came up to 17.0. And then my task 2, I was kind of nervous with my videos. I got all 3s in that section. So, you know, it depends. You know, you can get a 1.1 or a 2.0. That still doesn't mean that you're not going to pass the exam. You're going to pass the exam. But my advice to you would be to look at all the rubrics, kind of pinpoint what score you're aiming for. If you're aiming for 4s or 5s, you need to read down the column. In order to get a 4, what do you need to have in order to get that 4 plus or whatever it is. So like I said before, I strongly suggest working with a partner. You know, kind of go through the rubrics at the beginning, but skim through. I kind of skimmed through. Once I got close to the end, I sat down and I went through those rubrics thoroughly. My partner graded me very harsh. You know, my partner, he graded me very harsh, but I wanted him to. I didn't want you to say, oh, I got a 5, 5, 5, 5 here when I really don't have a 5. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it depends. Some people are afraid of criticism, but don't grade the partner and say like, oh, you got a 5 when they really didn't. Be honest when you're grading that person's work. If you feel like, I'm sorry, baby, you're at a 3, here's how you could boost to that 4. Give that, write it on a post and tell that person, hey, you did here, but you missing this one part. You missing the entrance, the interest part. You need to go back to your student's interest and write how you related that to the lesson, because sometimes it's that littlest thing that can help you reach to a 5, because that's what was happening to me when my partner was grading my work. It was a 4, but it was in between a 3 and a 4, and in order for me to get that 4, I just need to go back and talk about my students' interests, needs, and areas and things of that sort. So when it gets close to you kind of grading, you want to give, when it gets close to you, I mean submitting, you kind of want to give yourself at least two weeks, 2 to 3, where 2 weeks you're kind of editing and prepping, and you guys are somebody's reviewing it with you, and you're working on your partner's work and they're working on yours, and then you have about you want to give yourself 1 week. Sorry, you want to give yourself 1 week where you and your partner are working on each other's that 1 week. Then after that, you have 2 weeks to go back, edit, go over any grammar. They said they don't look at grammar, but I wouldn't trust it. Get somebody to read it. If you got to go to a learning lab, a writing center, get somebody to read it. Go over it. Make sure you're using the right past tense, plural tense, all this other things. Make sure you're using it in there. And then give yourself that 2-week opening. And then on top of that, you guys got to upload. Now, the uploading I was a nervous wreck, because when you go on that website, it is all over the place. If you can get somebody and you could sit down with somebody and y'all upload together, I suggest that, because the uploading I was terrified. Like, if you know that you're finished with one section and you're done editing, you don't need to go back and edit, I would advise going back. And since you know you're finished that section, if you know you finished your task 1, go and only upload task 1. Then the following week, if you're still working on task 2, work on your task 2, go back, go edit. I would say upload it one by one as weeks progress. But you need to know, like, for sure it's completely finished. I mean, you can always go back and delete it and take it off, But I would suggest, like, maybe one Monday you upload task 1, Thursday you do task 3, just part by part, so you don't have to like do it all at one time by 12 o'clock, because you know when you submit it, you have to submit it by a certain time, like 12 o'clock Eastern time or Central PM time. So before it even get close to that date where you're not like, oh my God, you're frantic, you at least know that you submitted. You have these parts uploaded. All you have to do is this section. But the uploading part is very it's tricky. It's very tricky. So if you can't work with somebody on the uploading process, I suggest that to upload with somebody. If you can go to somebody in your school, they can help you with the uploading for Edtpa. I say do that. And yeah, I hope that this video was beneficial for everybody. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, any comments, any concerns, please feel free to email me. If you guys need any resources in regards to reading or writing for special needs kids, because that's what I focus on for my Edtpa. But if you do need like some resources, it can be for general ed students too. If you guys need any like writing or reading sources, I can show you ones that I've used that I've got from my college through my master's program that they suggest us to use for our Edtpa. I can definitely share them and post them up. I've shown you guys a few of them. So I would say have it in your collection to use so you can reference, because they do want to see you using some textbooks or research and theory. Yeah, so hope you guys like the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. Bye, guys.